Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm Madelyn Burke. He's Howard Cross at Madelyn Burke at Howard Cross 87. We're with you today. The phone number here is 201-939-4513, or find us on Twitter, on social media at #GiantsChat. And as a reminder, you can find the archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, on podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. It's Tuesday, November 21st. We're still celebrating the win, Howard.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Great win, second win in the division this season. And as we celebrate small victories this season, I just want to acknowledge the fact that the Giants have eclipsed the win total in division from last season. Because despite going to the playoffs and winning a playoff game, the Giants just won one game in the NFC East last year. So already sweeping Washington Commanders this year. We celebrate the small things here on Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Yes, we do celebrate the small things. It's very good that we did have two victories in the division, which is great. Even though it's against the same team, also great. Division wins are tough regardless of who you're beating. So I'm happy that we somehow, some way did that. I know the season hasn't been what everybody's wanted, but, you know, small victories, like you said.
Small victories indeed. And you know what? Tommy DeVito, the passing paisano. I mean, the celebration is so
That's
great.
hilarious.
This
That's
right
so
up here
funny.
is so good. He's just really kind of endeared himself, obviously being a Don Bosco kid and from New Jersey. Such a great story, you know, his full family out there in full effect. But the way that he was able to play on Sunday against Washington, you know, a lot of people when Daniel Jones goes down, Tyrod Taylor is on injured reserve, they're thinking, oh no, this is rough. You know, they're looking ahead to, you know, the combine and to the draft in April and saying, okay, what are we going to be looking at there? But it's nice to have these moments with Tommy DeVito and seeing these flashes and you know, the optimism through what he's been able to put together and how he's been able to grow week in and week out in the quarterback position.
You know, he did a great thing in the game. I thought he did a great job taking advantage of the opportunities that were given to him. I thought also that, you know, for whatever reason, Washington, when they blitzed, they sacked him, and when they didn't blitz, they gave him time. So he realized that, saw that they weren't coming a lot. When they weren't coming, he was able to get the ball down the field, and guys made plays for him catching the ball. So that's something great. You know, going forward, we're hoping that, you know, he can, you know, pick up the blitz a little bit better as it starts to happen. I think he'll be able to do some of that. But, you know, week in, week out, he's got one more opportunity. I think after that, Tyrod will be back after the break or something. But I'm not really sure how that works with the coming off of injury reserve or something.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's been on injured reserve. I see him walking around the building.
Yeah.
He's, you know, dealing with that lung injury or the rib cage.
Ribs.
Sorry. And, you know, we'll see how they navigate that after the bye week because, of course, you got the Patriots this weekend.
Yes.
And then the bye, which is a late bye. I mean, in the last, you know, 8-9 years, the Giants have had their bye around Halloween.
I just think that they set this up. This was the year that was set up for, like, you know, to be the roughest year for them, and they managed to do it.
It's quite humbling.
It's very humbling. Like when you're that injured all the time, you would look for a break and hope for a break. Never came. So now they're getting a chance to rest. But by the time they rest, everybody will be permanently out. That's out, probably.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not, Howard. I mean, you know, it's still December.
Yeah.
Or it's about to be December.
December's next week. Yep.
December's next week. This week is Thanksgiving week. We've got a lot to be grateful for.
Thankful for.
Thankful for.
There you go.
Thankful and grateful is the same.
Grateful.
It's a synonym. Yeah, that's the word, right? Dom's over here nodding his head. Yes, that's the word.
For our English class of the day.
You know, synonym, thankful, grateful, all of it.
I like cinnamon too.
We're just cinnamon, synonym. Anyway, you know, we're off the rails. It's good to get a win, though. It's great to get a win, especially you know, with some optimism when you've got Tommy DeVito putting up the highest passer rating in a game ever by an undrafted rookie, 137.7.
That's good.
Again, we are going to be grateful today. We are celebrating the small things.
He did a good job. I'm telling people. I told people, they were asking me, like, what would happen. I said, styles make fights. I don't think Washington's team is healthy. So that's going to be good for us. I thought that we had a chance to. They lost three of their best pass rushers. Two in the trade. One was injured. That was good for us. It's something that was happening in the game that I've never witnessed before, watching an NFL, college, or high school or anything. A game where there was no offensive holding penalties called for the entire game.
That's wild. I didn't even realize that. That is wild. Because, like, realistically, if you're looking close enough, you can find an offensive holding penalty. You can find a holding call on any play.
You wouldn't even have to look close. You can just watch the game and say, and like, not one.
Wow.
Neither side.
Wow.
That was the first time I was like, oh, they're tackling him on the edge. I'm like, there he goes again. Now look at the official. They're like, hoo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Like, I guess like they were like, we don't call any penalties for holding.
Listen, sometimes you got officials throwing flags like they're trying to get Tommy John surgery after the game. Sometimes you got them holstering those things. And you know what? You just got to play the way it is.
They had glue in their pockets for those calls. I had no idea. Like we were talking about it during the game. Like that is, Bob said like at the end of the game, he goes, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I'm like, yeah, we were watching. I'm like, look, that's a hold. That's a hold. That's a hold. Like, nope, no flag. I'm like, I'm going to stop saying it because it doesn't really matter. They're not calling it. It was pretty interesting.
That is interesting indeed. Another highlight, too, that we want to talk about off this Washington game, though, Kayvon Thibodeau. Mm-hmm. The fact that Wink Martindale, in his 6 seasons as his defensive coordinator, has never had a player with double-digit sacks. And, I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about it, right? Wink's defense, they got pass rush coming from all angles all over the field, so everyone's going to eat. Mm-hmm. Kayvon Thibodeau, in Week 11, becomes the first player in a Wink Martindale coach defense to have double-digit sacks on the season, 10.5. And I'm just going to go ahead and pat myself on the back because before the season, when we were making our bold predictions and Howard was trying to do the math of how many this, that, and the other thing.
That was really bad.
That was rough. That was rough for you.
Math was not good.
My bold prediction, and it's with caveat. So my bold prediction was that Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari would combine for 20 sacks. Now, Azeez has not yet pulled up his end of the bargain. He's been hurt, yes. But Kayvon has. And you know what? There's still a lot of games left. So maybe Kayvon will just do it all.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'll give him like 12, 13, 14 maybe sacks, but he's not getting 20. If he does, it's going to be very interesting.
Listen, don't have no in your heart here, people. Do not have no in your heart. And, Kayvon Thibodeau, the last 3 players to have 10 or more sacks over the first 11 weeks of the season in their first 2 years of the NFL. Okay, this is one of those stats that, again, 10 or more sacks in 11 games in their first 2 years, doing it once in their first 2 years in the NFL. TJ Watt did it in 2018. Micah Parsons did it in 2022. And Kayvon Thibodeau in 2023.
Wow, those are the only 3 in history?
Only 3 in history to have 10 or more sacks through 11 games in one of their first 2 seasons.
That's pretty impressive.
Pretty good company.
That's pretty impressive.
Number 5 overall pick, doing good things for this Giants defense.
Showing out a little bit.
Showing out, showing up. We love to see it. All right, we are here on Big Blue Kickoff Live in studio. Madelyn, Burke, and Howard Cross. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. The phone lines are already starting to fill up. So, Howard, what do you think? Should we get to these callers?
Let's see what they're saying.
Let's see what they're saying. Starting, of course, with Vinny in Florida. Vinny, what's on your mind this Tuesday? You're on the line with Madelyn and Howard.
Vitamin W.
Love it. We love it.
Good to see, and definitely been refreshing. Mm-hmm. I don't have pay-per-view, and I live in Florida, so I walk to the bar by my house. And as I was walking to the bar, I put on Facebook, Giants don't tank. And I'm really happy with the way they're playing because I am so sick of people like wanting the number 1 quarterback. And I want to throw some statistics out here that support that. I looked at the top 10 teams in the NFL right now, and there are 3. Mm-hmm. Detroit with Jared Goff, San Francisco with Purdy. And, yeah, he's been great. But look when Debo and McCaffrey went out, he was 0-3.
Yep.
And Cleveland with Watson being injured. Those are 3 teams that are powerhouse teams that are building their teams from the ground up. Mm-hmm. Good defensive lines, good offensive lines. We need to make sure we have the beef to compete in this league. And I want Marvin Harrison Jr. more than anyone there, and he's likely not going to go 1. So I wanted to mention that. About the game I wanted to mention, the 9 sacks. I don't think very many were the offensive line's fault. I think they gave DeVito time, and he's just processing how to read defenses, and he's not there yet. I mean, it's in his second starting game, and he just doesn't release the ball like some other quarterbacks do. But that said, he had a hell of a game. Mm-hmm. And then, about the game, he's doing the team is just doing great with the turnovers. Really proud of what the defense is doing, especially scheming up. And one last thing I wanted to say, and I'll just take the comments off the air. What an irony we have. Remember our 3 quarterbacks last year? Who was the practice squad quarterback?
Jake Fromm, I think.
No, that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago.
Davis Webb.
Davis Webb, who is
that's
now
right.
coaching.
He waited his entire career to get a favor from Davis at the end of his career because the Giants had clinched that they'd let him start. And he waited his whole career for doing that. And then he retires. And look, if he didn't retire, he would be playing this year. But Tommy Toughness, as you said on Sunday, Madelyn, you called him Tommy Toughness, is got the chance. I just think it's an amazing irony that he's been gifted the opportunity to play this game at the highest level with his favorite team. And I'll take all that stuff off the air, man. You guys are great, and we love you.
Thanks so much, Vinny.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
and
call.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, yes.
So we'll talk about the sacks first. There were 9 sacks against the Giants, and I think
5 in the first quarter.
Yeah, and I think that's again a product of 2 things. I think DeVito really understands he doesn't want to turn the ball over.
Right.
If you turn the ball over, you don't give your team a chance to win. It takes victory away from him. So what he does is he'll pull it down if he doesn't see what he thinks he should be seeing up front. I think he also has still learning kind of the process of things, and he needs to know how to adjust and check out of something when he sees a blitz. Right now, does he recognize every blitz? I don't know. Does he not recognize some of the stuff? But sometimes you'll see him like they're running a play. They'll send everybody out of the backfield. Okay, no one moved. Maybe you should call that guy back because they're coming. So those little things like that he'll pick up on as he's going. As he gets a little bit older and keeps a little more experience and keeps playing and more opportunities. Those will be things he'll be learning and things he'll be studying, because that's what you're going to see when you're a young player. They're going to start trying to blitz you, trying to confuse you to make sure that they get to you. But outside of that, when they weren't blitzing him and he had time, he got the ball out. I don't believe there were any sacks or maybe one sack that happened without a blitz. That's how they were playing. So that's a good thing. As far as my man Webb, hey, that's just part of it. Like, he had a pretty good career. He hung in there a long time. He enjoyed it. And he says he wants to be a coach. So he's moved on and trying to pursue that part of his career and what he wants to do in his next stages. One day Webb will probably be a quarterback's coach, an offense coordinator, and eventually a head coach.
Yeah. Well, and back to your point, though, too, about ball security. That is something like if you're sacked 9 times, but you have 0 turnovers, I'll take that any day, right? I'll take that any day, because you look at the end of the game, there's so many stats when you look at this Washington Giants game. Turnovers. Giants had 6 takeaways.
Yes.
Washington had 0.
Yes.
0. When you look at some of the other things, so the pressure, the rushing yards, the fact that, Washington had 174 rushing yards, and until the very end of the third quarter, the Giants had 0 on the game, and so there's certain stats that if you just look at the box score without the final score, if you just look at these stats, you're thinking, okay, well, this is clearly a Washington win. Well, oh no, this is clearly a Giants win. This and that. But I think the ball security is really what it comes down to, because you can't win a game when you turn the ball over 6 times, which is what happened to Washington.
Absolutely. And without there being a Tyrod or Daniel Jones in the game, there's no threat really. I mean, DeVito can run. He has some ability. He has some quickness about him, but he can't risk running him right now, because there's just like, you can't keep backing up the next backup quarterback and keep bringing him in the game. So all of a sudden, when Saquon is early in the game, if he touches the ball, they're all focused on him.
Right.
And it wasn't until the second half when they started, it's like, okay, well, if they're holding, we can hold too, and we can try the edges. And they let him go to the edge. And it looked a lot different, because the big guys, the strength of their defense was in the middle. And that part of it, that once you get to the outside, they're in chase. They can't catch some running backs from the outside. And it looked like that. As far as, the other part of it, I mean, the turnovers, look, the Washington football team was throwing the ball to the Giants.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. A couple times it was pressure and the ball fluttered, but they dropped 3 or 4 passes that hit them in the chest. I mean, it just. I have no idea what that kid was looking at.
Yeah,
I think Wink had him confused, and he was literally throwing the ball to our guys. As far as the fumbles, though,
yeah,
those were forced.
Well,
they were punching balls out.
3 of the turnovers were on Sam Howell in the passing game. There were 2 fumbles, and then there was 1 special teams play as well.
I think that he should have had 5 interceptions. That's how bad it was. I mean, but we came away with 6 of them. I really liked. I liked that we got some points off of it.
Right.
That's the other part of it. And like I said,
31 points. That's tying the season high for the Giants.
And think about this also. When you think of Saquon not running the ball, but they passed the ball to him, so they got the ball to him out on the edge. They got the ball. They fake it to him. Guys are pulling up into the line, trying to get there to stop him. He runs a wheel route on the outside. No one's really covering him because they're looking for him in the middle to catch the ball.
Wait, can you say that one more time? He runs a what?
The wheel route.
You said wheel.
Wheel.
Is that cool whip? Can you say whip? Wheel. Can you say cool whip? Cool whip.
The wheel.
The wheel route.
The wheel.
The wheel route.
The wheel route.
Anyway.
They ran it so bad.
Sorry.
I feel like Palatino ran 3 and
just had to zero in on that. I'm sorry.
The wheel route.
The wheel route. But yes, Saquon on the wheel route has been a successful play. Things we love to see, absolutely.
Okay. But that was a successful play because again they're watching him and trying to get close to make sure he can't carry the ball out of the backfield, and he runs right by them.
Right.
So those things are like really helpful, and those are almost extended handoffs, so to speak, because he's outside of the defense. You're kind of throwing the ball. Let's see what happens when he gets out there. One time he was way outside the defense. He was down the field, but those are great plays. Even the second touchdown he scored.
Yeah.
They do the fake. Everybody steps up. He runs by everyone, and they throw the ball to him on the edge.
And he's got a great matchup against the linebacker as well. And that's something. I think when you look at the sacks as well, one of the things that stands out is Saquon still kind of finding his bearings in the pass protection in some regards. But there were some moments that
I'm telling you, like if it was a blitz, even Saquon, he could have been there, but they brought more people than the Giants had blockers.
Right.
And that's when you have to know who's going to be the hot guy, where what to look for, do the check for people to listen to. There's a lot to it. There's a lot more to it than you think. I remember when I first started, we had a player named Dave Meggett. He knew the defenses as well as the quarterback did, as well as Sims did. So when the play would be called, he'd be like, "Hey, that guy right there, check it." Sims like, got it. Okay, we go. So it was fun to have somebody in the backfield that knows how to do the blitz pickup that well.
Right.
So when Saquon knows how to do the blitz pickup, but when you bring in more guys, you got to pick who's the most dangerous, and the quarterback has to play off the other guy.
Right. Absolutely. And to his credit too, I think you see it a lot on the sidelines in the locker room, the way that their dynamic is. Saquon Barkley kind of really elevating Tommy DeVito, believing in him, and Vinny from Florida, the caller, had pointed out just the fact that he was really all in on this. A lot of Giants fans were saying, "Oh, this, tank that." I saw a great tweet that said the only tank Tommy DeVito knows is the one he's wearing down the shore this summer.
That is so
and
bad.
I love it. I love it. The World Wide Web. I applaud you.
I think it's so funny when they say, now I know they do it in basketball. I know they've done it in baseball. I don't think football teams do it.
I think that any professional sport, I don't think any player out on the field is saying like, "Oh yes, let's buy into the tank and buy into because think about it this way. If you're a player, number one, you're not going to play at your very best for the future of this team for them to potentially draft your replacement. No. And for you to put some bad tape out there to potentially affect your future in the league. No, I don't think any player in any professional league is saying like, "Oh, okay, let's just mail it in this season until next year."
And that's why I'm always interested when I hear fans talk about you should be tanking, because I have never seen a player just like it'd be great if you're a tight end, you're starting, like I was a starting tight end for a long, long time, and early in my career, they drafted 2 guys at my position.
Right.
And I'm like, interesting. Okay. Yeah. And you have to live through that and work your way through that the entire time. So if you're tanking for someone, you're literally playing bad to get yourself replaced. And that I don't think any player does that. I don't think any coaching staff does that.
Yeah, it's a no for me, dog. I think that, yeah, and I think too, just as a professional athlete or
there's rumors that teams have done it.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's rumors that teams have done it. There's rumors that teams say, put the personnel out there that they don't think would do it. I don't know. There's all these rumors.
We're going to give these guys an opportunity.
Well, there's of course, we're going to call this play instead of that play. We're going to go for this instead of that. Sure. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're a professional athlete and you're on a football field or a basketball court or a baseball diamond or what have you, you're not going to just mail it in for, because these things are fleeting.
Fleeting is one thing. The other thing is you get bonuses for things.
Exactly.
And you get keep me off the field so that I can let him that's not working. That's not how it's going to work. You can pull somebody else out and let them play. I'll play by myself, whatever it is, but you're incentivized to play. You're incentivized to make plays and to make catches and to make tackles and to do all these different things. You're not giving up any of your playing time if you can help it. Not one play.
Exactly.
Because you want to get every dime you can get when you're doing this.
And it just feels good to get a win. I mean, listening to the show today, I'm sure listeners are saying, wow, this is a much lighter show. Walking through the building today, the energy is like coming off a win. It just feels good, whether you're a player, a coach, a member of the staff, what have you. And even if it's your third or your 13th win of the season, it feels good.
It's always nice to be rewarded.
It's always nice to be rewarded because this is what you don't play the game just for kicks
you
and
play
whatever.
To win
play
the
to
game.
win the game. That's it's an old adage that you play to win the game. And you got one this weekend that's going to be a little bit of a slugfest. You got the 3-8 New York Giants hosting the 2-8 New England Patriots. Patriots coming off of their bye. They were on a 3-game losing streak before the bye.
Yep.
They lost to the Washington Commanders, who the Giants just beat by 12. Patriots haven't scored over 20 points but once this season.
Yes.
However, Bill Belichick coached Patriots teams after the bye 16-7, which is a pretty favorable percentage. Does that matter? Like, does that play? Because I think you look at the thing of like, oh, after a bye, Bill Belichick knows how to coach this team. But then you also look at the fact that it's Tuesday and Belichick has refused to name a starting quarterback for Sunday. He has said, it's anybody could be the starting quarterback, not like any of the quarterback, anybody. Maybe they'll put
Zappy, Mac Jones, one of the guys. So, here's the thing. Belichick does great jobs of coaching his teams up against rookie quarterbacks.
Right.
That's the thing that would be most troubling to me as if I'm trying to put together a game plan, like what is he going to do? Is he going to like totally go away from his normal plan of defensively, or are they going to do something different? So usually against rookie quarterbacks, they have a really, really stout record, and that's the thing that probably worries me the most. I also think that watching our team from a special team standpoint, the punt protection has been suspect, and like guys are coming free. That's not something you want to put on tape, or that we have on tape right now that they're going to be looking at. So, in theory, it would be a close game, 6 or 9-6 or whatever it should be. But there are going to be a lot of opportunities against us if we're not prepared for. You got to have your special teams locked in and locked down. You got to know exactly where you're supposed to be in the entire time because they're going to be coming after you. That's one. And number two, you got to be ready for, like I said, if Washington would have continued to blitz, they would have continued to get there. So that's something that a lot of coaches don't do anymore. They we're going to keep running. We're going to run a variation of this. We're going to do something else. When the old days was like, okay, if this is working, until you stop it, we're going to continue to do this.
Yeah.
And Belichick's an older coach, so he'll probably get on that kind of bandwagon. Like, okay, blitz him. If he can't stop it, just continue to blitz him. And that's the kind of things you're going to have to find a way to beat the blitz.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. And, both these teams currently holding a top 5 draft pick. Mm-hmm. Neither one of them tanking. They're, they're out there playing the game. You look at, the stat that stands out. I mentioned this 16-7 after the bye. Mm-hmm. When you're coming off a bye, like there's rest versus rust is the storyline in various degrees, right? When you have a playoff bye, when you have a long gap between games, when you have, teams that, this team is rested, or this team has spent some time away.
Okay.
You've had seasons, Howard, when you were a player that weren't going well, that you were struggling.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, if you're 2-8 at the bye, you need to kind of just press the reset button. Going into the bye on a 3-game losing skid, you're like, all right, let me step away from it. Is it hard to re-engage? Is it hard to lock back in when things aren't going well? I'm looking at it from the Patriots' perspective right now, because Patriots coming off of their bye, off a 3-game losing streak. Do you imagine putting yourself in those players' shoes, like, okay, let's get back, let's lock back in? How do you kind of re-engage in that way?
Well, I was different. I wasn't like most players. I was a gym rat. I was always watching tape. I was always, trying to figure out the next little edge or level that I could get to get better, especially in the years when we were having a bad season. When we are having a bad season as a team, that I become extraordinarily selfish and like, well, okay, we may be having a bad season as a team, but I'm going to grade out at the highest rate ever.
Okay.
And that's how I looked at it. So when the season's going bad, things are going wrong, I just started watching more tape and trying to prepare myself more, because I need to do more for myself. Because when they, season's over, they start getting rid of people because it's a bad season. They're like, oh, well, you may be part of the problem. Either you're part of the problem or part of the solution. So I would always, batten down the hatches, so to speak. We're taking on water. Okay, let's start packing things up. Let's figure out what's going on. Give me some tape. Give me some glue. I want to make sure this is working. And that's the way I've always done it. Like I talk to people and kids that are playing and guys that are playing. They're asking like, what do you do when things are going wrong? I'm like, you get selfish and you start focusing on your game. You start focusing on your job, specifically what you're doing, because it's nice, but you can't always help the next guy. And if you start trying to do too much because, well, he's not doing his job, I got to make sure if I can help him a little bit. When you start trying to help him, your job starts to fail even more.
Right.
And so I learned to, early in my career, batten down, learn how to take care of your business, make sure you're getting everything done as quickly as possible, understand everything. They can't call something they could call something from day one. It's like week 16. You should still know it because you got everything down.
Absolutely.
And that's how I think that they should do it. Now, there's the new age player, the one that I listen to in this day and age. They're like, I got to get away from this. I need to take some time off. Like, where are you going? You only work so many months. Like it's not like you. I understand you're getting beat up and your body's sore. Like you might be able to, quote unquote, get a massage or get some treatment. But when you're getting treatment and massages and stuff, have the tape on. Now you can take around your pad and it's like, the tablet, and you're like, okay, so that play. But if you're not doing that, if you're not trying to get better the entire time, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I understand the whole theory of, decompressing, giving yourself some time away, or I get it. But I figured when I played that there wasn't that much time. We didn't have that much time to play.
Yeah.
And the clock rings really quickly. The final bell, so to speak, rings in your career really quickly. So you get all the space you can, use it all up, and then when it's over, you stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 months out of the season. You want to lock in. And yeah, you need to take some time to mentally and physically reset, but how much time? And to each man, to each person, it's a bit different.
And back in the day, it wasn't always about the mental part of it. We were just like, we were grinding it out, trying to figure it out, grinding it out. Nowadays, it's, preferred that if you need a break mentally, you need to take some time for you. I understand that's a big way people look at things now. When before it was more of, all right, let's get it going.
Well, I can imagine, when Bella and Howard were in high school and you're helping them with their math homework and you're like, I can't figure out this problem. You got to take a step back for a little bit, stop thinking about it, and then you come back to it and you're like, oh, now I can see it from a clearer perspective.
Yeah. Well,
right?
they did that, and they like, well, let's work on something else.
Right, exactly. Work on something else. You come back to it, and then you're like, oh, now that I'm looking at it with fresh eyes, I see it in a different way. Sometimes you need to do that as well.
So you get stressed and tired, like I said, but you can. It's a different world now, and I understand it now from a mental standpoint how people need to take a break and how they need to, and what they say, recharge the battery, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I get it.
And not everyone does, but you got to kind of understand how you as an individual machine work and how, what works best individually. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Phone lines are open, so if you're listening, you want to call in, now's your chance. Howard Cross, Madelyn, Burke hanging out on Big Blue Kickoff Live, but want to remind you all, too, to make sure you go and subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. It features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, and front office staff, past and present. Plus, you'll hear from the best analysts covering Big Blue and the NFL. Search for Giants Huddle and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or simply go to giants.com/podcast. And don't forget, if you are on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star positive review for all of our Giants podcasts. Like, comment, subscribe. You know how it goes. We love to hear the feedback from Giants fans out there listening. Plus, Giants fans, take your fandom to the next level with a season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the 2023 season. To learn more about all the exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available.
Yeah, that's pretty good. getting tickets out there.
Got to get tickets, especially we got some cold games coming up.
It's going to be a lot of cold games.
It's going to be, chilly.
So look, you're here almost every day, Madelyn. Let me ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
How many of the guys that were, quote unquote, injured, not been able to play in the last couple of weeks are going to come back? How many guys do you see coming back?
Next year?
This week.
This week.
You see like a Evan Neal coming back. You see a Dory Jackson coming back. I know Slayton went out the game late. Is he what are you hearing from the day-to-day calls?
See, that's a little bit tough, though, too, because at this point
Tuesday.
in the week, it's only Tuesday. They haven't been on the field yet. They haven't even put out an injury report yet. So we don't really know how severe some of these guys are. You got a Dory Jackson still in concussion protocol. You got Darius Slayton with the arm injury. Evan Neal's been dealing with that ankle. A lot of these injuries that we won't really get a sense of until tomorrow, until Wednesday, when they start to see, okay, who gets some work in, who's out there, who's putting the jersey on, getting on the field. And you want to be optimistic about this, but also, too, at this point in the season, with the way things are going. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you're, this medical staff, if you're this training staff, you're this coaching staff, you're saying, okay, if a guy is like on a bubble, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you say, okay, physically you're good to go, you're clear, but sometimes do they ever say you're just barely clear, let's hold it? Or like if you've crossed that threshold, if it breaks the plane of you're clear, then you're in.
Well, I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, because like I missed one game and like 5 practices in my 13 seasons. And the one game I missed was because they said, okay, you can take a rest now. We had surgery last week. We don't need to try to play this week. I'm like, but I could play though, right? They're like, well, if we needed you, we could play. I think we'll have a chance to. And believe it or not, we were playing Washington in that game. And I was like really upset. I'm like, I always have a great game against Washington. Why are they going to help me out?
Yeah, right.
So, but today, I think
this is my sweet spot. It's like Hitch.
But today, I think what happens with what I would think would be like a Dory, if it's cleared, he's cleared. If he's kind of on the bubble, well, he'll have 2 weeks to recover because he got this week off and then the bye is next week. So I think the same thing with Neal. If you're on the bubble, this week is off and the bye is next week. So you'll get 2 weeks to be strong and get everything done. So I think those two things are the biggest things that will be focused that they can actually do. So that's what I'm looking forward to first and foremost. I'm asking you, are they coming back? Because I'm like wondering, this is like the week before the bye, how much are they going to push to get these guys back on the field? I'm curious. Right. Like I said, now if it's me, and I don't know what incentives Dory has. I don't know what incentives that Neal has, but I'm trying to sneak back onto the field to get as many games in as I possibly can, because I know those things mean something to guys in their contracts.
Absolutely. They do. They absolutely do. And I think also, though, if you're not 100% healthy, if you're not, fully clear to go, you're not going to be putting yourself on the field to get those games, because that's going to, perhaps put in jeopardy the remaining ones. No?
Well, yes, that. And here's another thought, and I don't want to take shots at anybody, but here's another thought. We are playing the Patriots. They don't move the ball that much. Dory, I know you feel good, but you can take a break. I'd be like, hey, no, put me in. I'm going to catch something. They're throwing the ball to me.
Right? It's Thanksgiving week. They're feeling very generous.
They're
it's the
giving
season
it away.
of giving, and we are going to be receiving.
We're going to be sitting. They setting a table.
Giants defense is out here ready for some larceny.
Exactly. It is what it is. You have to be, at best, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know which quarterback's going to play, but if I'm a defensive back, I'm like, you can. I'm okay.
Let me get my numbers out too.
Like, I'm okay. Like,
but
are you hurt? No, I'm fine.
But it's also too, I think, with all due respect to the New England Patriots and all due respect to the way that this team is put together, they are struggling this season.
Yeah.
And playing a team like that, coming off of a win and heading into a bye, that momentum, right? That's a really important thing too that we don't talk about a lot. But momentum swings and momentum shifts, they happen in games, they happen in seasons. If you go into the bye on a 2-game winning streak, and then you have that extra week for some of these guys who are injured to get back, get healthy, get back out on the field. And you come back from a bye.
It gives you a little energy.
Gives you a little oomph, right?
Yeah. Though again, I still be holding my hand up. I'm healthy. But you don't have an arm. That's okay. I use the other
Who needs it, right? These are details. These are details. You're focusing on the wrong things.
Exactly. Where's your finger? It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Especially because the Giants are coming off of the bye, and they've got a Monday Night Football game after that.
Oh, my goodness. What is with the Monday Night Football games? What is with us in primetime? We had so many primetime games this year.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's wild. It is wild. But you know what? People love the Giants.
I know they do.
Can you blame them?
When's the Monday night game? Who are we playing?
December 11th, playing the Green Bay Packers at MetLife Stadium. So it's funny because it's like a bye week and then a Monday night. So you got like 2 straight weekends without.
Don't they know that it's cold at night this time of year?
I think they do. But you know what? At least
for the sideline
for
reporter.
your purposes, at least they scheduled this game in New Jersey and not in Green Bay.
That's true.
So you're welcome.
They do like me a little,
They
but
do.
still it's nighttime.
You got to get that like heated vest. Okay, here's my pro tip that I've discovered.
Howard has a heated vest. He has actually 3.
3. Do you wear them on top of each other?
No,
That feels like a flame.
It just
worry.
depends on. Okay, look, if it's slightly damp out and cool, I have
Damp.
one that is really dry, like waterproof.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like really cold out, like bone chillingly cold, but no moisture in the air, I have like a fleece one.
Okay.
And then if it's like, kind of like casual, like this weekend where it's just really chilly, you just wear like the little have the vest. It's like kind of like a puffy vest. It's nice, but it's nothing special.
Well, I mean, this is chilly season right now for sideline reporters and for fans. And so I'm going to give all y'all my pro tip too for being in the cold weather games. Because this weekend, November 26th, we got Patriots at MetLife Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be chilly. And then the Monday night game, December 11th, it's going to be cold.
I'm not even going to talk about
Here's
that.
what I like to do when I'm out on the field on the sideline. You know those things that they sell at like the drugstores that
The
are
hand
like
warmers?
well, yeah, obviously the hand warmers. That's some 100 level stuff. I'm talking about 400 level. You know I know rain. Howard Cross is checking the weather, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you listening and not watching, a look of shock and terror has washed over his face as he sees that Sunday the forecast is 44 degrees and rain. So it's going to be cold, wet, and windy for one Howard Cross on the sideline at MetLife Stadium as the Giants and the Patriots battle it out. But here's my pro tip. You know those things that they sell that like if you've got back pain and those little heat pads that you stick on your back? I get a couple of them and I put one on my back, I put one on my stomach. I just kind of tape them all over me underneath all the layers. So it's like these giant, they're kind of the same concept as the hand warmers.
You are such a wimp.
I know. First of all,
in my mind, I'm like, first off,
I'm from LA.
You do realize those are medicated things. You're not supposed to be taping them on you.
I'm fine. Look at me. I've made it this far.
She's out there high as a kite.
They're not medicated. They are warm. They are heated. They're heated sticky back pads.
Do I need to Google
They're
alert this?
heated sticky back pads, and you put one on your back, you put one on your core, because the key is you got to keep your core warm, and then you layer on top of it. Listen, the California girl in the Northeast needs to find new and creative ways, especially for our post-game show at the stadium, too. We're on the concourse. The wind is whipping. We have a little heater.
You
we have a little heater on the set.
Before the game.
But the heater is essentially like, it's like that. It's like this little gust of like a hot breath. It's not really like, it's not like the ones you guys have on the sidelines that throw fire.
You don't have a heated jacket, a heated vest?
I bought one, but it's too big, and so it doesn't quite like...
But that's why you wear something over it so it hugs you.
No, I know, but it's just I gotta.
She's too busy trying.
I'm too busy taping myself up.
You don't know what this is. You don't know why this is a
heat.
problem? Because she wants to be cute. See, you can't be cute and warm at the same time.
Yes, you can. Challenge accepted. Tune in to Giants Post Game Live to see cute and warm at the same dang time.
I just wonder how many of those medicated heat pads she has.
They're not medicated. They're just heat pads. But you just tape them all over you. And it gets a little toasty in there.
I bet
honestly.
it does.
Honestly, I'm like, whew, I might
doing
need
something to your blood.
It's not medicated.
Your heart is racing.
Are they medicated? Now I'm going to have to look this up. But either way, I feel my muscles feel warm and relaxed.
You could jump off that balcony.
No.
Get right up. Everything feels good. Like,
No. You know, I'm ready. Put me in, coach. It's cold. We got this.
Oh, my goodness.
So anyway.
Please, this is not advice to be taking and read the packages before you do this.
If you're coming out to MetLife Stadium on Sunday or any of the remaining home games, we want to make sure you are toasty and warm and ready to go. And speaking of which, the 2023 schedule is officially out and single game tickets are on sale now. Don't miss the Giants at MetLife Stadium this season. Visit giants.com/tickets to secure your seat today and visit your local convenience store for all of your heating needs.
Heating. Okay.
That's just me throwing it in
I
there.
went to South Bend this past week. I got my son, in theory, it was his senior day.
You know, I did see you and Bella, your daughter, on the broadcast.
Oh, I heard that looked like she was sleeping. But she wasn't sleeping. She was screaming.
She was resting her eyes. Thank you. I'd like you to know that Bella Cross was not asleep. She was resting her eyes because of all the locked-in attention that she was paying.
Let's just put it like this. Everybody in the section knew she was there. He had like 9 tackles, and every time he did, I'm like, okay, good job, Bella. You're screaming a little loud. She goes, "You gonna tell me to be quiet?" I'm like, "No, I'm just saying you're a little loud." And so it was a good day. He had a great day. It was a lot of fun to watch. Senior day, got to see some of the other parents and stuff. But I believe he might be coming back.
You already broke the news on this show last week that he is coming back.
He is. It's so crazy.
Keep coming back. Work if you work it.
The things that they do for kids today and to go when they go to college is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's I do it. I mean I got eligibility if anybody's out there that needs me. I mean not at football, but I can still probably play. I don't know. Golf.
Pickleball?
No.
Do they have collegiate pickleball yet?
Absolutely not. I am not playing pickleball.
With those knees.
No. I'm watching people dive on the ground for that thing. I'm like, what are they doing? What like literally?
Leave it all on the court.
I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, what is pickleball? I'm like, oh, it is abbreviated either ping pong and wiffle ball together.
It's like ping pong and tennis.
It's
like
like
ping pong and
ball.
tennis had a baby.
It's terrible. It's like a big game of what do you call it? Cups. When you throw the pong, you throw the ball in the cup.
Pong.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
You call it cups?
I don't know what to call it. I don't really do the game. I would never play that game. That is no way for me to drink anything that's might picked up off the floor, dumped in a cup, and then you have to drink. That's out.
It's good for your immune system, Howard.
No, you die from that. You get tetanus in the mouth. I'm telling you, it's nasty.
Unclear indeed. We've fully gone off the rails today.
There she goes. She got it right
Madelyn,
there.
I don't know if your heat pads are gonna save you from that. In beer pong.
No. I'm willing to take the experiment on the road. Let's put some heat pads on, play some beer pong, call it a day.
With me. I will judge. That's what I'll do. I can judge.
Only Judy can judge me.
Okay.
The Honorable Judith Shineland. Judge Judy.
I love it.
Anyway, back to football because this is actually Big Blue Kickoff Live, and we have gone a bit off the rails this Tuesday afternoon.
It
But
happens.
it happens from time to time. Daniel Jones is having surgery on Wednesday for his torn ACL, so the process begins.
Interesting. Why did they wait so long? Was it swollen?
I wonder. I would assume the swelling, because oftentimes when you have an injury like that on a ligament, the swelling is pretty severe, and you want to make sure it goes down before you go into the surgery. Correct?
Interesting. Yep.
Because you've had ACL.
I've had all kinds of things. I got a new knee, so it does help to go in after the swelling. But, interesting.
Interesting. What is your advice for one Daniel Jones as he begins this process?
Well, today's surgeries are so much better than they were 1,000 years ago. So that's number one. So if he's probably been working out the whole time, so he's in the greatest physical shape he can possibly be in. The big thing for him is follow the doctor's advice. And it's going to be hard to do because somebody like Daniel, big, strong guy, you want to do extra and get back faster, but that's not the actual method to do it. You have to do exactly what the doctors tell you to do. You have to follow the right protocols and do it in the timing they say do it, because that's when it's going to make you the strongest and you're going to come back the best.
Right.
If you do anything extra, then you jeopardize tearing the ligament, re-tearing the ligament, or re-injuring the knee.
I'd imagine the hardest part coming back from that is patience. I mean, I had a slight meniscus tear and I had to do physical therapy, and it just feels like is this even a workout? Like the resistance bands things and this and that, but you have to have the patience to do the little movements and this and that and be diligent with it. And for somebody like Daniel, I'm not a professional athlete. Breaking news. I know this is a shock to many of you.
Your vertical is amazing, though.
I know. It feels like I'm flying. I can maybe get 1.5 inches off the ground.
It's okay.
It's a gift and a curse. But, I'd imagine the patience is the hardest part for somebody like Daniel.
It is. I mean, I had shoulder shoulder surgery one year. I think torn labrum in my shoulder. They did the surgery, and it was like, okay, you have to do this. Now for shoulders more so than knees, it was the flexibility, regaining your flexibility, that was the biggest part of it. But your knee, it's more of like, I remember having the surgery. It's like, take your time, make sure it's okay, give yourself some time to let it come back fully healed, so you can then start to work out and rebuild everything. The atrophy in that leg will be the problem that he'll have. He doesn't want to see that at all, so that's what he's going to be trying his best to get himself back in the game as quickly as possible. And it depends on how bad the surgery is.
Right. Well, and they've got pros. I mean, I'm sure it'll be Dr. Taylor at HSS that handles that, or one of those guys.
One of the doctors.
One of those doctors.
It's like 1,000 of them that's on the sideline. You got to pick one. You can, if you throw a rock, you'll hit a doc on the sideline.
Yes, exactly, and a very talented one of that.
A very talented ones, absolutely.
And also too, when you're dealing with an injury, it's the compensation. The balancing of, like, if you're limping a little bit, you put your, like, I with my knee, my hip and this and that and everything else got like tighter, and you got to kind of.
Yeah, but here's the difference. We're civilians. We have surgery, and we're basically we're going to rehab once a day, right? Or once every 3 days or something. How the rehab goes. As a professional athlete, Daniel will have surgery. He'll be out of surgery today. He'll be starting his rehab tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
He'll be walking on it tomorrow, and people
I wonder
like, how
if
could
he'll
he
be listening to any dolphin sounds? I've heard that does wonders for quarterbacks in the New York market.
Oh my God. Anyway,
no.
So they have a pool inside that you can walk on, and you have weightless movement. So there are all the things you can do to, like, get dolphin cells. There are all these different things that these guys have to they get to go through and get to have that regular people, regular civilians don't.
That's true.
And I rehab when I get my knee replaced. I rehab my knee. I would go in 3 days a week, hang out with the guys, do the rehab, come home, and I was thinking, I'm like, I'd be so much better if I was still playing, because I could probably go out and play, because I'd be rehabbing twice a day. I'd be coming in the morning, doing another session before I went home, then go home and ice at night, and come back and do the same thing again. I'd even come in on Saturdays to get rehab. But, as a civilian, your insurance pays for 3 times a week, and that's what you get. So it's very interesting.
Exactly. It is very interesting indeed. But, we're wishing Daniel Jones a very successful surgery and a speedy recovery as he undergoes that process.
The timing of it seems like 8 months, right? So today is November.
Today is November 21st.
So
tomorrow's the 22nd.
We'll call it December.
Is
almost.
it December to remember?
Yeah, so we'll say December, January, February. He should be ready.
July. OTAs?
July.
Training camp?
Yeah, I think that he would probably be closer to when they start training camp and preseason and stuff. But in theory, in July, he'd be cleared to practice and move around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how crazy it is.
Yeah, it's wild how quickly that thing can turn around too. It's Thanksgiving week though too. So before we wrap up the show, Howard, what are you thankful for?
Really? This is what it's come down to. Why are there no callers?
This is what happens when the listeners out there are just like, we're going to listen. We're not going to chime in. All right, you're leaving it up to me.
What am I thankful for?
So, let's be grateful today.
So first off, I would say I'm always thankful for Isabella and Howard III. I think that's probably the greatest thing, greatest accomplishment I have in my life. So without anything or whatever, that's it. They're the beginning and the end for me. As far everything else, I'm very thankful to still be a part of the Giants organization, being able to come around, see all you guys every day. You get to see the coaches, the mayors, the Tishes, and travel with the team and be a part of it. So I'm very thankful that they include me with them.
I agree. Family-wise, I'm thankful that my dad just came out to visit. Came out to visit New York. He came and watched the post-game show in the studio, which was fun to have him live in the studio. Did you hide the
boyfriend and everything? Did he meet my dad?
And
my dad's coming. You gotta get out of here.
And I'm very thankful. Pivot, not address. And I'm also very thankful to still be a part of this Giants organization as well. 8 seasons for me now, and it's like this is such a
8 seasons.
I know, right? Can you believe it? And this is such a high-class organization, and I am just honored and thrilled to be a part of it. Every time I come into work, I'm just like, wow, I'm so fortunate to be associated with an organization that has such class. And despite, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the struggles that we've seen so far this year, it's still like if I would have told 10-year-old me, hey, you know what? You're going to be working your dream job, and you're going to be able to cover an NFL team.
Well, 8 years ago, you were basically 10.
No, I wasn't. I moisturized. I've aged gracefully, but thank you. But, if I, so many people ask me, like, wow, how do you have such a positive attitude when things aren't going so well? I'm like, this is my dream job. I get to cover an NFL team. And even though they're not doing well, if you would have told me, hey, you get to cover a professional football team, they're not going to have a successful season, but it's still going to be your job, I'd be like, I am thrilled. I will take it any day. And so I'm just really, and just, being able to work with such incredible people throughout the building and throughout the organization, including you and Howard.
Wow.
And that's so, funny. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving. We are happy to celebrate that. And look at this, phone lines. Right on the nick of time. We got another caller, David in Michigan. David, happy Thanksgiving week. You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Madelyn and Howard.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful for a win.
Same.
There you go.
I am thankful for you guys.
Oh, that's nice. Very
and before I make my point, I want to say something to Madelyn. When you first got on the podcast, I was a jerk. I didn't call in and say anything, but my first reaction was, I'm old school and I've never been crazy, and I'm going to admit this is a flaw in me. I was never crazy about listening to women talk about football.
Okay.
It's just a very.
You're not the only one, David. You're not the only one.
I just want to tell you, Madelyn, I apologize to you, even though I never, you didn't know this, because you are as good an analyst on the Giants as I have ever heard.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Goodness.
I am thankful for David right now because that warms my heart, and that means a lot. That really means a lot.
And
thank
I
you
want to tell you something. I went to college and was mates with both Bob Papa and Datino.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known those guys, since we were all kids together. At Fordham. So I just want to say that your analysis week to week is as good as I have ever heard. So
thank you so much. That really does mean a lot. Thank you.
Wow.
And so I want to make, and you're good too, Howard.
That was not as nice as Madison, but I'll take it. I'll take that.
Listen, I love Howard as a player, as a guest, podcast, everything. Howard, you're the top of my, you and Carl are just awesome to me. So, I do want to make one point because there's been so much chatter around Daniel Jones and whether we draft a quarterback and blah, 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 blah. And what I've settled into is this. We are not going to contend for the Super Bowl next year. I just don't see it. Right? Okay. And that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to be able to go head-to-head week to week with Philadelphia and Dallas and, the tougher – and we're not there yet. So this is going to take a couple of years. So my thought is this. I just want to throw it out there, even though we're not supposed to talk about the draft yet.
Okay.
I think DeVito is going to shape up to be a really good number 2. That's my feeling, and I think so that when DJ comes back, he may not be ready for opening, but if he's not, it's okay. Tommy will open, and when DJ is ready, he'll come back and assume his starting post. That said, I think it would be wise to draft if the scouting staff finds a quarterback out there that they like, maybe one of those second-round picks, because we had 2 of them, but we have got to go offensive line with our first-round pick. Have to. Whoever the best and I've looked at the list. It looks like there's enough blue-chip offensive tackles to last until we pick. We may not get the kid from Penn State, but but there's going to be we have to, because you could put Joe Montana with Terry Bradshaw as a backup, and they'll all get murdered with the way this this offensive line that goes. Plus, next year, this group is the group that's there, whoever carries over, going to have another year of experience and maturity. I mean, I don't think we ought to spend the first pick if there's a good quarterback there on a quarterback. I just think that we're on even though the record doesn't show it, because the injuries have killed us, I still feel like we're on the road, but we need the alpha wide receiver to complement Hyatt and the other guys we have, and we need 2 more stud offensive linemen, whether they come from the draft or free agency or a trade. So that's just my thoughts. And have a great Thanksgiving, you two. Again, we're very thankful for you and all of the other Big Blue hosts, because you're all great.
Thanks so much for the call, Dave. Appreciate it.
Why? That was the nicest thing. That was a really great compliment.
That was an incredibly great compliment, and I do appreciate too that he was honest and said, "Listen, there are a lot of people that I know that feel exactly the way that David said he felt originally, and I understand that, and I respect it, and it means the world to me that he said that. It really does. So, yeah." It's a great way. And you know what? It's interesting. You look at the draft. I know we're still in the midst of the season. We're still in week 12. There are a lot of needs that this team has. And we're starting to look towards that, especially with, college football playoff, bowl game, all that kind of stuff coming up. And you're starting to look at the way that these college teams are playing. And
but you also know that like every week, these guys are out on the road at these games, watching different players and in person to see. And Joe was coming back, flying in. The assistant GM is flying in. I see T-Mac coming in. And so I know they're out every week, week in, week out, going to see everybody they can see, trying to gauge. The scouting department is this huge group of guys who are going out, and ladies, I believe, that are going out and taking, not just watching the tapes and watching the players, but actually going to the games to see how they're reacting in the games. Because the funny thing about scouting is that you can watch 1,000 hours of tape, but if you're not at the game, right, and you don't know the energy that's happening at that moment, you don't know how this player is really performing. Yeah. You can watch a guy, he does, oh, well, he looks really good. That's great. That's awesome. And then you're watching the game. It's like it's the end of the game, and nothing's really going on. Or it's like, these are like throwaway plays, so to speak.
Well, and also the broadcast only shows you portions of it.
But even when you're watching, tape and when you're watching it, you don't get the feel of what's happening. So when they go to the games and they're watching, they get the whole energy of what's happening. They can see and get to gauge what's going on with these guys. As far as drafting guys, I have no idea who they're going to draft.
We got a couple months before we start really locking into that.
I have no idea what their goals are, and for sure they wouldn't be telling anybody what they're looking at or who they're not looking at unless they, have an odds-on favorite. Okay, I could get this quarterback, and everybody in the league wants him. Mm-hmm. Then you start talking about the quarterback a lot, and then you get a lion's share of hauls of picks because they trade. They'll, oh, well, if you want them, you can give me a few picks, and you can have all the picks. We want that guy. So that's the only way around it.
Well, and also too, you figure out where you land in the order as well. Too,
well,
which kind of plays into
and
it.
Again, I don't know where they're going to land because this week we have a game that's a winnable game. Don't know if they're going to win or not, but if the winnable game, if they win, that's another victory for the Giants. We hope that they do. They'll have the bye. They'll be coming off the bye. They're playing a Green Bay team that is suspect. They're up, they're down. You don't know where they're going to be when we see them, and we'll be coming off the bye when we get a chance to play them as well. Right. And then after that, you've got like some pretty tough opponents. But the next two,
the Giants still have not faced the Eagles yet this season. They got 2 games against the Eagles within the course of 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah, so you might have the Eagles playing for first place 1 week, and the Eagles is playing the rest of all their players the next week. So again, we don't know what's going to happen towards the end of the season. So you just got to play them as they come.
Exactly.
One at a time, one play at a time. It sounds so weird. It sounds so cliche, but that's the only way to do it.
One play at a time, one game at a time, one show at a time, and that's how we do it. Of course, the next one is Sunday, MetLife Stadium, Giants-Patriots, 1 p.m. I want to remind you all before we go, the Giants' official connected TV streaming app, Giants TV, brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and on the Giants mobile app. Well, that's our show today, Howard. It's been a good one.
Yeah, it's been a great one. For Sunday, please wear your ponchos.
Please wear your ponchos.
It's gonna be wet.
And your heated pads that you can find at any convenience store. Your heated vests.
Please,
just bundle up, stay warm.
Heated vest, yes. Not heat pads. Don't do that.
Yeah, do it. I'm telling you. Pro tip from a California girl. It'll keep you nice and toasty. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, which is part of the Giants podcast platforms everywhere and giants.com/podcast. Big Blue Kickoff Live presented by Cadillac. That's our show. For Howard Cross, I'm Madelyn Burke. We'll see you next time.